All right, well, welcome. This is a Mason County Promise Scholarship information session. So again, I just wanted to share with those of you who just joined us that I'm recording this for potential Promise scholars who are at home and unable to join us today. So if you have a question at any time, you're welcome to ask it, but if you don't want it in the recording, I will provide time at the end. For those of you who are at home watching this after the presentation, please know that you can email me anytime, info@masoncountypromise.org, and if you have questions about any of this presentation. So I'm just going to get started. My name is Jody Maloney, and I am the director of the Mason County Promise Zone. And our promise in Mason County has been here since 2018. And so the first thing I like to review, because I know that a lot of people have questions about whether or not they're eligible, and a lot of our scholars who are seniors have just applied and are kind of waiting to find out if they got the scholarship. The basics of who is eligible for the promise: any graduates of Mason County Eastern, Mason County Central, including ASM Tech, Gateway to Success, or Leadington High School, who graduate with a 2.0 GPA or better and who reside within Mason County or their school district boundary. Those students are eligible for the promise. Residents of Mason County who obtain a GED and live in Mason County after 2018, they are also available for the promise, or also eligible for the promise scholarship. And then once you have the promise scholarship and you attend West Shore Community College, you have to obtain a 2.0 GPA each semester and complete and pass 67% of all of the credits that you attempt in order to remain eligible. I'll talk about that a little more later. So the Promise Scholarship covers up to 72 attempted credits at West Shore Community College. So an attempted credit is basically you take a course, and if you pass that course, that's a successful credit. But if you take a course and you don't pass it, that's still an attempted credit. So that's kind of how we look at it, is courses that you try out and keep for the majority of the semester are attempted credits. Courses you sign up for and drop in that first week of class or so, those wouldn't count, but anything else counts toward that 72 credit total. Another thing that we added last year is pre-college credits do not count toward the 72 attempted credits. So if you went or you tried out dual enrollment or you went to ASM Tech, those pre-college credits, so credits you passed before you graduated or before you started in the fall after your graduation, those don't count against the promise. The promise covers all tuition and mandatory fees. All tuition and mandatory fees after federal and state aid is applied. So what I mean by federal and state aid is I mean grants specifically. So the Pell Grant or TIP grant, the Tuition Incentive Program grant, those are awarded either by the federal government or the state respectively. And so those get applied first. If you don't receive any money from those or not enough money to cover, the promise covers the rest of your tuition and mandatory fees if you are an approved promise scholar. In order to have your promise scholarship awarded each semester in fall, and this says spring, it's fall and winter, you have to have 9 credits as your minimum number of credits during those 2 semesters. In the summer, we do not have a minimum, but and that's basically because courses are condensed into weeks rather than months, and so we want to make sure that in the summer you have some flexibility with your schedule, but you need to take at least 9 credits each fall and winter semester in order to use the promise scholarship. And students who are approved to use the promise after graduation, they have up to 4 academic years to use that promise. So that'll be available to you once you hit that ceiling of 72 credits, the promise is done. Or if you hit that ceiling of 4 years, the promise is done. So those are the basics of what the promise scholarship covers. It does not cover books, it does not cover transportation, it doesn't cover housing, anything like that. It's tuition and mandatory fees. A little more information about the promise. I just shared about the Pell Grant and TIP grant. We call this a middle dollar scholarship. So students at West Shore Community College who have the promise will not need federal loans to take care of their tuition and fees. If you happen to need to borrow loans, which is pretty uncommon at West Shore, but if you happen to need to borrow loans, that could help out with things that that are non-tuition based. So maybe with housing, if you have to live in an apartment and pay rent or something like that. But the again, the promise doesn't cover books, room and board, or any other non-tuition and fees related expenses. Scholarship money awarded to the students outside of the promise, that's your money to use. So let's say you applied for a community foundation or a school foundation scholarship and you were awarded that, you can use that toward books or that toward your other expenses that aren't tuition and fee related if you were approved to use the Promise Scholarship. Our Promise Zone also offers success coaching, and what success coaching is, it's basically support for students, encouragement for students to not just complete their semester, but to complete their degree at West Shore. And even if you're not thinking about completing your degree because you want to transfer, you've got some other ideas, we have a success coach on campus to just encourage you to do well, to make connections with your professors or advisors, and to be that kind of first go-to person for you whenever you have any sort of question about your education at West Shore. So success coaching started in fall 2020, and our success coach, Callie, will be there in fall 2021 to welcome you to campus as well. This is a big question that a lot of our 2021 seniors have right now is, how do I know that I have the Promise Scholarship? Because you may have applied as early as October of last year and not gotten any confirmation back besides the initial email that says, we received your application, and then the next steps email from me. Our promise has to verify that your graduation GPA is above a 2.0 or better. And so in order for me to send out the confirmation that you've received the promise and that you're eligible to use it at West Shore, I wait until your final grades are in from your senior year coursework. And typically what that translates to in real time is that you receive your notice around June 15th, mid-June is what I say, but it's right around June 15th when I'll get those in the mail for you. So right now, what you could be doing if you're considering using the promise, if you know that you're going to graduate with a 2.0 or better, you know you're a Mason County resident, and you know you're attending a Mason County high school, you pretty much know you're going to get the promise. You want to make sure that you have all the other things in place. So you want to make sure that you register for fall classes at West Shore, and that registration is available to you right now as long as you've completed orientation. And the way that West Shore does orientation at the moment is that once you enroll, so you complete your application to West Shore Community College, they'll send you an email. Sometimes that lands in your junk mail, so you want to make sure that you check that. And in that initial email that they send you, there's a link to complete online orientation. Once you complete online orientation, it will give you information on how to register for classes. And they'd really like you, and we would like you as well, if you're a new student to West Shore, we'd like you to connect with an academic advisor if you have that opportunity, either this spring or during the summer, because that can really, really help you to make sure that you're getting the right classes you need in order to meet your academic or your career goals. So register for classes or complete orientation, register for classes, and of course, make sure that your FAFSA is completed, because the promise does require that all Promise scholars complete their FAFSA application, and that that information is used to determine if you've got federal or state grants available. And a lot of our local scholarships besides the promise, like community foundations, also require that. West Shore also has scholarships available to students, and they're very generous. Typically what the director of enrollment says is, if you apply for a scholarship, most students who apply for scholarships get at least $100 through West Shore's My Scholarships program. So once you've signed up for classes, you'll see that you can log into West Shore's student information system, My West Shore, and you'll see a My Scholarships link. And if that scholarship application is still open at that time, you can apply, and hopefully you'll get some extra money that you can put toward books or something else. So that's the long and the short of it is, around June 15th, you're going to get a letter in the mail, and you'll want to pay attention to your mail. If your address has changed from the time that you applied to the Promise Scholarship, please email me and let me know what your new address is so I can make sure that gets changed in our system and your information will get to you. Again, my email is info@masoncountypromise.org. how do I keep the promise? So once you're admitted to West Shore, attending West Shore, you receive the Promise Scholarship, you have to do the work to maintain the Promise Scholarship. And really that same work is what you need to do to retain any financial aid that you have. So one thing that you want to make sure is that you complete your FAFSA renewal every single year. So October 1st or after of each year, you'll complete your FAFSA. That you register for 9 or more credits to maintain your eligibility in fall or winter semester. If you drop to 8 or fewer, for whatever reason, your courses won't be covered for the Promise, but our Promise Zone does allow for appeals. So students can do up to 3 appeals, and appeals are possible. Typically, it's for unique situations. So maybe you had to work a little more to help out your family or something like that. An appeal is a good situation or a good option in that situation. Or maybe at the last minute you decided that, hey, this would just be too much for you because you've got some other life things going on. An appeal would be something you can do in that situation. And you can go to masoncountypromise.org in order to complete an appeal. And if you have any questions about appeals, reach out to me and I am happy to support you in those unique situations. But for the most part, every semester you want to see, or every fall and winter semester, you want to make sure that you're in 9 or more credits. Each year that you're using the Promise, so remember you have up to 4 years, each year that you're using the Promise, you want to make sure that you renew. So this initial application year, you just apply. Next year, if you're going, you want to make sure that you renew after your winter semester grades post. And I will also ask for your transcript as a part of that renewal process. The last piece of keeping your promise in college is that you want to make sure that when you're at West Shore, you receive a 2.0 GPA or higher, and that you complete and pass 67% or more of all of your attempted credits. So we call this SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress, and it's something that the college will require of you as well to be in good standing as a student. So 2.0 is a C average, and if you're struggling, West Shore has some wonderful support systems, support people on campus. They've got a writing center, a tutoring center. So they've got a testing center where you can take your test in quiet if you need any sort of accommodation due to a diagnosed disability. They have counseling on campus. So lots of great resources for you so that you can, get in there. And if you're struggling in a class, say the first test doesn't go well, you can take advantage of those resources. I always tell students, start out with tutoring. And then if you know you don't need it because your tests are going well, then don't go to tutoring anymore. But it's a lot easier to start out with tutoring than it is to find out, hey, I'm struggling in the class halfway through, maybe once your midterm grades are available, and try it. And then from there have to try and recover. So start strong. And that's the long and the short of it. Oh, no, it's not. Oh yeah, it is. I forgot I had that apply, but most of you have applied. So if there are any parents of juniors watching, applications for the Promise do open up as soon as that FAFSA application is available. So October 1st, you can start applying for the Promise as well. Again, June 15th is when everybody after their senior year, that's when people get notifications. If you have any questions, you can feel free to also email me, jodym@ludington.org. Either way, I'm going to get your email. I'm going to respond to you as soon as I can, and we'll get those questions answered. You can also call me. My number is 231-239-8224, and I'll help you out anytime. You can also go to our website. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. Let's see here. And of course, I've got 6,000 windows open. Okay. So our website is masoncountypromise.org. And here on our website, you see we have home, where we share lots of our pictures of our recent graduates, fast facts, which are some of the basics that I've shared with you about the Promise. Our students can find out more information about their Promise here. There's also a video of you from our last information session there. But if you need a recap of any of the stuff I've just told you, it's available on our website, masoncountypromise.org. We have some success stories about previous students. Carly Candelek, she's shining star. Board meeting information for our Promise board. Frequently asked questions, contact us. And then over here in the more is where you apply, renew, or appeal your scholarship. So most students who would be participating in this event right now, you're a new applicant, you've already completed your application. But next year, if you're thinking about using the Promise again, you'll do a renewal application, or if you happen to be a student, say you are under 9 credits in a given fall or winter semester, this is also where you will submit your appeal. So I am gonna again stop sharing here. Thank you. For anyone at home, if you have questions, let me know. Jody M at Leadington.org or info@masoncountypromise.org, and I'll be happy to take your questions. Thank you everyone for joining us. And for those of you who are here today, I am going to stop recording so that you can ask any questions you might have.